Ladies, welcome back to another installment of Julian's Random Projects. And how random? I don't know, we've done Nintendo stuff before, we've done some kiosks, some GameCube stuff. I'm nostalgic for some generations of Nintendo products. The GameCube, I've not, like, I didn't play that as a kid, so I missed the GameCube. But some of the previous generations, N64, the Super Nintendo, original 8-bit Nintendo, these kinds of things, and those have soft spots in my heart for sure. And the Virtual Boy, I distinctly remember. I had like a wave of nostalgia come through when I saw this thing in the flesh. I knew it existed, but something about spotting it in the wild. I was at a flea market, and a guy had one, this one to be exact, and for $30, and he told me it didn't work, didn't know what the state was, but I knew that it came with a controller. So it come with a controller, and I thought, well, at $30, man, I want to just have a poke around and see, and worst case, I'll sell the controller on eBay. Surely, something as rare as this thing is, that's about what we're going to go for. I didn't know the numbers, but in looking this up, it came out in 1995 and was discontinued in 1995. I think it had a run of like 9 months, and so this like super short life cycle for this thing. And it's not that sometimes a company's will shit can a product because it's competing with another one that's coming out, or the Pareto optimization between the current product that's out and then the next one is not big enough. But they might have like a long in the tooth one that came out before, like a product A, B, and C on a timeline. They might keep A because it's crazy popular, drop B, and develop C, because for the consumer there's a clear good, better, best kind of delineation between C and A. It makes sense. Maybe they've gotten Model A cost reduced down. They got the piece parts. Someone's building stuff in high volume, and they can get it way down, and there's a big value proposition there. So I don't think that was the case for the Virtual Boy. It wasn't eating anybody else's lunch in that regard. I think it was just problematic. It had a thing called an IDP, or an interpupillary distant thing here, and not a lot of people know. Oh, that's crunchy. Ugh. We'll get to that in a second. And people don't intuitively think, oh, I'm staring at two separate images, which is how this thing works. It has really bright LED arrays on this side and on this side, and it shoots them at a mirror, and the mirror weeble wobbles and can paint it. It's real similar to, you guys have ever seen barcode scanners, the way it puts that line out. If you look inside of a barcode scanner, you see that little mirror moving. It's moving way faster than it looks like on the screen here, because it's like a shutter effect. But that's what this thing is doing. And so we get a straight line. Imagine if there was many of those lines, and you could pulse width modulate where it come on and come off, and you can start drawing little smiley faces and 8-bit characters and that kind of a thing. And that's basically what we're doing here. But now you have to imagine, of course this is a laser, but what's an LED, a light emitting diode? It's really, these are pretty bright. And so what we're doing is we're like shooting these into a 9-year-old's face, like right into his pupils, like direct retina injection of pixels there. And it was exhausting. There was some eye strain, and there was some fatigue to play this game. And to combat that, every one of the games, when you boot these things up, it comes with a question, not a warning, but a question. Would you like to enable like these automatic brakes and stuff? Because on some time, like a 30-minute timer or whatever it was, similar to the Wii, where it's like, hey, you've been playing for a while, you might want to go outside. Or it's like, hey, have you seen your fat friend Dave lately? He hasn't played the game in a while, like some exercise game. How's he doing? That kind of thing. A little bit of peer pressure there. So it's a failed product, but as I held it in my hand, like I got these all these fun memories of like being at a Kmart and just thinking it was so cool and futuristic. And it was the first time that I actually understood, had a good grasp of what 3D was, like how we judged depth was that you you have two separate images, one for your left eye and one for your right eye, of the world around you, and that's what they were replicating. And as a kid, I got it, and it just stuck with me later. And I got to do some work in VR in the industry, which was really, really awesome. And some of that early stuff, even just the term IPD, just to have that at the ready when people started to talk about it at work, allowed me to join the conversation. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, hey, do you want to be a part of this, Skunkworks project and work on some goggles? And it just, it opens doors. So sometimes the things you bump into as a kid, like, the Slumdog Millionaire movie, like come back to you later in life, and then you have the answers. So it was really fun to relive that. So, I was busy and I was keen to get it fixed, and I want to apologize. I didn't make a YouTube video about fixing this thing. I'll insert some pictures here if it makes sense to show you some of the reworking that I was doing. It's a very common failure point for these things. The challenge that I had with mine was that not only did it fail, which is fine, and I'm hoping that this one failed in the same way so that we can make a YouTube video about it today. The challenge in mine was that someone already tried the fix I'm going to show you. And if you come in with unmolested ribbon cables and LED arrays, you're probably going to be okay. If you just take your time, use the right tools, watch a bunch of tutorials, you're going to be okay. But I was going over someone else's botched attempt, and they murdered this ribbon cable. So I ended up getting the eye patch, and these are still available, pretty affordably. And it's such a niche product. I'm really pleased that somebody that also loved this thing enough to go through the R&D, the research and development, to create a part that only, a few hundred, maybe thousands of people at best are going to use that product. But I'm sure they enjoy knowing that they're saving these things from a landfill and getting them back into use. So let's take a look at what I did. So I wanted to show you guys how I fixed this. So I'm gonna set this guy aside. All right, so this is the one I thought I had so much fun doing it. Let me take these guys. I should actually go back and take folks through the story of how I got this thing, and also a reminder that if you're interested in getting into some of the some cool bit of tech, whether it's retro or modern stuff, sometimes finding a broken one or a scratch and dent model can be your affordable entry into it, and you learn a lot along the way about that product. So that's kind of what I'm showing you here. I'll try and find a screen grab of this one that I purchased. And the reason I purchased it was that in messing with some of the other, to get the other one working, it was missing this bit here with the barcode on it. And I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with this thing to know that when I got it at the flea market, that was missing. It all looked pretty complete otherwise. And it had the hood for blocking the light on the sides, the little shade thing, like the original Nintendo one. There's reproduction ones, and I've bought those since then. But I realized that it didn't have that, and that helps slide the game in. The game will go in without it, but it really helps a lot in the guiding of it in here, like so. So I went on eBay and found someone that was parting out theirs, and it had this piece, and that's all that I really wanted. So now it also came with extra legs and stuff. So now I have all these extra parts. So I'm trying to get enough together to make a second one. And that's what this is today, and it'll also be a fun excuse to take you guys along with. So let's see what we got. Break out the most dangerous tool in the shop. Trying to cut our plastic controller. So that did a pretty good job boxing this guy up. Your controller is also your power entry point. I think it runs on something like 9 volts or something. And it's a little confusing because you want to be careful. If you end up getting this one, which is this one's probably most folks' preference, is the original Nintendo one with the captive cord, so you don't have to run batteries or anything like that. And this plug is the same as the Super Nintendo. You guys will probably recognize that. But it's what I would call reverse polarity. The outer ring here is positive and the center is negative, and that can trip some people up. So just keep that in mind if you're getting into this. So this one come with like an aftermarket made by Performance. And it's not confidence inducing, this one. One, because everything I've read said that the original power supply was 850 milliamps at 9 volts. And I was looking that up because I was thinking about taking one of the battery trays that I have and converting it to USB-C. So just to modify it to accept USB-C. And then I thought, these things are kind of expensive, just the battery pack by itself. And I probably don't want to go hacking this up. Now that I have this, oh, for sure, this generic one, this is probably going to be my future USB-C project where I would just, that's almost USB-C shaped there where that cable's coming out. So that's the candidate. So I'm not going to start with this. I want to troubleshoot this, but I don't want to be questioning whether my power supply is good or not. I'm going to go with the one that I know works, or a fistful of batteries. We'll see. Also, having multiple controllers and power supplies is helpful. So the power's gonna come out of here, run up the controller, and then into the actual unit. So there's not a separate power port on this side. It also had support for, or the planned support, I should say, for 2 players. And my understanding is that the homebrew community has made their own connector here. I need to look that up. I saw one on eBay for like $80. I was like, no, like not into it that much now. And I think the only games you can play multiplayer are homebrew games that people have made. So, and your power switch is on the controller. Do I have a game in? No. All right, step 1, put a game in. So this is, similar to, actually, I don't know. Even the Game Boy, when you didn't have one in, it would still come up and have like the bar, because the actual logo for Nintendo was on the cartridge, and they did that for trademark and copyright reasons. So they go after folks that were copying that. So you just get a bar if it doesn't read a game, or it reads like a non-Nintendo game. But this one does nothing if it boots up. So if you get one of these out in the wild and you don't have a game to test it with, the person might think it's broken because it does nothing. It does nothing because there's no game. Yeah, you guys get it. All right, let's try again. I saw a light. Ooh. Oh, yeah. So you guys see that the mirror's moving. It's hard to see whether that one looks like it's moving also. Probably won't get a copyright strike from 1995. I doubt it. I can see a little bit of, there's like one line of an LED strip on this side, and this side's completely blank. And if you're trying to figure out, if you're looking at one of these and there's just a bunch of dead pixels or like solid lines going through, which is one of the problems I had with the other model, or the other unit, if you close your left eye, you're now looking at just the right emitter. And if all of the lines go away, or it looks better in that, that 2D image, you now know the problem was with the other one. So you just go, close one eye, close the other one, and you'll hone in on which side is actually foobarred. So in this case, both, which is great. Let's let's get this thing open, and then we'll be able to take a look and see if someone's been in here before us. I should mention that when we heard the music from the game playing earlier, that's gives me a lot of confidence. That's a lot of stuff working. As far as compute goes and power supplies, and it's obviously it's only half the game. There's the the audio and the visuals, but as far as component count goes, that's it gives me a lot of hope that we can get this thing up and running. Where someone had already previously attempted a repair. I like the way these things are popping as I take them off. That first little snap tells me that this has not been wallered out or stripped out, or someone's been in here a bunch. So I like that. The one I got from the flea market was missing a lot of screws, and luckily the screws from the GameCube use the same screw head, same thread pitch, but are just a little bit too long. Now, I didn't want to go too deep into the receptacle for fear that I poke out the back side or hit some printed circuit board or something like that. So I just took them to the vise and took a Dremel and just lobbed off the extra length, and was able to use the probably hundreds and hundreds of extra GameCube screws that I've got. And if you're asking yourself, why does this guy have hundreds and hundreds of GameCubes or GameCube screws? It's because I probably worked on many hundred GameCubes. Got pretty proficient at it, actually. It was something I was doing as a hobby, just to kind of pass the time and do something that wasn't work-related. I'll put a link or a card, or I'm not sure what YouTube's doing now, but I'll put a link to my dishwashing a GameCube to clean it. So in case you didn't know, you can remove all the electronics out of your GameCube and just toss it into the top rack of your dishwasher, and it does an amazing job cleaning it all up. Oh, there ones under here? There must be some under here. No? All right. I'm trying to help you. Let's go. There we go. Oh. All right, we are in like Flynn, and aside from what looks like some pinching here on this ribbon cable, and it's like shifted off to this, it looks like it's a little bit off kilter here. I don't see any other goobers or people messing with stuff, so we're doing good. Another thing that could be problematic with something this old is these electrolytic caps, these capacitors here. So I'm checking those to see if the bottom's bulged out or this top, if it has any bulging. They put these pre-stressed areas in here so that if these decide to outgas, it's a kind of a controlled explosion, and it'll just pop out that way. So none of those look like they've given up the ghost. So we'll trust those for now. The little DC to DC regulator there. There aren't any tabs that like remove the stress from this. You just have to grab this white piece here and just wiggle and pull. I see there's a bit of dust in here near the mirrors, and we'll blow all that out and maybe hit it with these things come up, set them aside. And so they're real clean on that side. The inside that never got touched, and the scratches on the outside, very normal. People sell replacement parts of these. I think even reproductions, but don't quote me on that. But I've seen some of these floating around on eBay. So if yours got a big gash in it, or it's just unsightly or damaged, you can get those. I'll probably just wipe that down and maybe put a little bit of a plastic polish on it. I'm taking these out now because as I move this thing around the shop, I don't want them to drop and get scratched up. The focus works, slides that whole array. I thought it was supposed to do more. Maybe that's IDP does more. Yeah. Oh. That is dry. We'll get that lubed up too. All right, let's not force it now. We'll get in there. You can kind of see the magnet that makes the mirror swing back and forth. Very cool. And that gets us to that. That's the piece we want. So once you remove the ribbon, we can undo these screws, and this will pop out. Once you're inside, then Nintendo doesn't care. Then they're not using proprietary screws to, dang it, they're not using proprietary screws to keep you out, which is nice. There you go. That's our culprit there. I am going to cover it up. Now, if you guys can see that there, we'll look at it under the microscope. But that's the line, not a line. I guess it is a row or a stacked set of LEDs, and they go from the bottom up to the top in a single row. And then I'm also going to do some strain relief. That's where we keep this ribbon sort of indexed back to the main body, so that when we're soldering this thing to repair some of this, we're not shifting it or letting it lift up and that kind of thing, just protecting it. Or if it gets knocked and hit, it's not taking you don't want the full weight of, even the weight of this little the connector piece here, the little tab, that weight and being tapped on is all resting on here. I guess we should talk about this for a second. This ribbon, the way they've affixed this PCB, these traces to this ribbon cable, was revolutionary at the time when this came out. It's not soldered so much as it's thermally bonded. They come in with a single iron that's rectangle shaped, and they push down, and it melts like a doped material that connects the copper, or the maybe not literally copper, but like whatever the traces are made out of on the ribbon cable with the actual pads on the PCB, and that's where you get your connectivity. Same thing was done with early iPod touches and those kinds of things, and it's a perfectly acceptable way to bond the two. But over time, they've lifted, and there are some people that come in here and just reheat it to get it to apply. But I'm a bigger fan of the flowing it with solder. So if you come in here, we're going to do it in a moment. If you come in lightly and allow some solder to flow in between the pad and the ribbon cable underneath it, it will melt the two together and allow for a more stable connection, in my opinion. So let's go get this guy under the scope and see if we can do some reconnecting. All right, you guys ready? I think I'm ready. Remember, folks, flux is your friend. In this case, we want to flow it in there. Some of the first traces don't go to anything, is what I'm saying. It might be a little too much solder. If you end up using too much solder, you can always just bump it and drag it out like that. Bump it in. And a lot of these lines correlate to actual pixels, actual LED lights. The one that I worked on last, this bit of enamel, like almost like a layer of tape here, like a Kapton tape kind of layer, was already like pushed way back and destroyed. And so I was able to actually reach over here with a pair of tweezers and wiggle that trace or the ribbon cable side. And if it wiggled, well, it's not connected intermetallically to this trace down here. This one, I don't have that luxury, which is fine by me. I like the way it is now. We're going to try all these. But like I was saying a moment ago, each one of these registers to an LED. And so when we put it back in the VirtualBoy headset, if all but one or these three here aren't lighting up, but the other ones are, all I have to do is come back and reflow these. And sometimes you can figure out which one is which by taking like a non-metallic object, like an eraser head or like a tuning device, and just pushing on this while it's inside, while you're looking at it, and you'll see which ones allow it to light up by getting a little bit of pressure on top of it, and that lets you kind of hone in. So you don't go back and reflow all of these to, because you're just guessing at which one it is. You can actually come in here and push on it, and that'll give you an idea of which ones it is. And just, if you're pushing here, just grab the one you think it is and the guy on the left and the right, and you'll be all right. So I'm coming up and I'm just kissing the ribbon. You'll see it right there, flows it. Oops, that's okay, those are shorted. Same thing, I don't know if these last few go to anything, but we're gonna flow them just in case. All right, let's give that a try. I remember to promise you guys a view of the LED arrays. You can see those little tiny hairs. They're called wire bonded pieces. So there's a wire that is actually like arc welded to the trace, and then it goes straight through there. Just the wispiest of a hair comes in and makes the connection to the diode. So this is just diode all the way down this row here, and that's how it's writing to the lasers and ultimately your retina. It's like direct retina injection here. So that's how they're accomplishing that. And so this is just a piece of plastic here to protect those really sensitive wires that are inside there. So, and it looks like there's an air gap. I don't think that that's like epoxied or anything like that. I think there's an air gap and this just protects it. So I'm just trying to be careful that I don't scratch this thing. So we got these pushed back in there. Let's see. Ooh, like butterflies flapping. You see them? There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, looking pretty good. All right, awesome. Let's see. So, what's next? We ginger carefully. Actually, before I even set it down, I don't want to shock those mirrors. So one of the things I noticed with the left eye, which if I didn't mention it before, the Japanese engineers here in Nintendo did a great job thinking about the manufacturability, designing this to be manufactured. These lenses, the red filters lenses, which is help with the monochrome nature of the thing, they're sort of ambidextrous, if you will. So they only have one part number for that. Same goes for a lot of the other stuff in here, and including the LED emitter array that we're just soldering down on. There's no left or right eye. They can be swapped over. So it also helps with troubleshooting and manufacturability, tracking stuff for the warehouse. There's like so many benefits to having just the one piece. So I want to get in here and see if I can get some of this dust off. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Gently. I'll blow this out with some compressed air. But there were some real big, thick pieces of dust on that right eye. Be careful because if my brush has little metal pieces here. So planning on putting some Kapton tape across here to both for strain relief and also to seal up the new solder joints that we've made here. And I might have mentioned it in the earlier in the video. If you're doing this and if you completely hork this thing, there is that eye patch that we talked about earlier, and you can grab one of those. So I would try this first, go eye patch second, if you want to get your goggles up and running and back to their stock condition. So I'm going to cut away here, and then we'll get this thing all back together, and then we'll give it a try. And I'll grab a stand and one of the hoods. We'll see what we can see. All right. It used to be that I would get a lot of folks asking me if I would fix their GameCube or repair this thing that I highlighted in a YouTube video, and my normal response is, "Sorry, absolutely not. I'm way too expensive and way too busy to be repairing your thing. That's why I'm showing you how to do it." But that's changed. I am semi-retired now and just doing some small business stuff and just spending time with the family, enjoying life. This is a passion of mine. It's something that I really do enjoy doing. And whether it's GameCubes or VirtualBoys or ham radios or whatever the thing, you guys can kind of electric cars, what have you. You look back and see some of the videos that I've uploaded. If this seems daunting to you and you're here because you have a VirtualBoy, find me on Instagram. I'd be happy to put your VirtualBoy into the queue of other things that I've got repairing. I've got 3 weeks to 4 weeks worth of work right now in the queue. If you somehow find my address, don't go looking, but if you find my address, please don't just mail me stuff. That's one of the worst things that can happen to a repair business, is getting just stuff sent in kind of blindly and piling up in a corner in the receiving department. So you'll need a work order number from me if you want to get your equipment out. Now, whether it's some of this retro tech that's out now, it's weird that 95 is retro, but whatever. Or you've got a ham radio, Yaesu, ICOM, that kind of thing, which is what I'm specializing in, which is the newer stuff that has LCD screens and touch panels and that kind of a thing. If you need help with that, please find me on Instagram right now. I'm working on a website. I'm not in a rush to build a website because I'm just word of mouth of fixing a couple of ham radios locally. All the other little radio clubs have discovered that there's a tech in their area, and I didn't realize that they were in such high demand. I'm trying to fill in that gap where I can. Same name as my YouTube name. Find me on Instagram. Message me. If I give you a work order, I will also include my address, and you guys can send stuff in, and we'll get it back up and running, a lot like these VirtualBoys. So 2 saved from the landfill, up and running, looking great. I'm going to hold on to the 2 for now and see if I can do some homebrew kind of stuff. I'm either going to make or buy my own cable. If I make one, I'll bring you guys along for that. And then, of course, for sure, the next fun project for the VirtualBoys is going to be making a USB-C adapter, whether maybe a battery pack, maybe just USB-C, I don't know, maybe both. We'll play around with that and see what kind of fun we can get into. If you've enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe so that I can pop back up and be a reminder to watch some of the future fun that we're having here on Julian's Random Projects.
I'm hanging in, there ain't no doubt, and I'm hanging tough. Over and out, over and out.